In the state of Washington, where I live, a bill recently passed our legislature which allows for minors to be given legal sanctuary from their parents if their parents do not consent to so-called gender transitioning procedures for the child. When the first edition of Assumptions That Affect Our Lives came out in 1989, I could never have imagined there would come a day in my lifetime in which children who wanted to flip their gender would be hidden from their parents by the state, with juvenile centers not being required to notify parents of a runaway child's whereabouts. If such a child is seeking shelter due to parents being unsupportive of so-called gender reassignment surgery, these parents are now considered by the state to be abusive and unsafe. Parents who insist on using the pronouns of their child's sex at birth are considered abusive and unsafe, not only by the state, but by some neighbors. In 1989, I could not have imagined medical doctors being allowed to perform irreversible so-called transitioning surgery on minors. It's right out of a Frankenstein horror movie. But here we are. Although it is believed the English word transgenderism was first coined in the 1960s, transgender behavior was no stranger to ancient Greece. While the Hebrews were forbidden to even dress in the clothing of the opposite sex, such prohibitions did not exist among the Greeks. They did what they wanted, at least in Athens. There are assumptions behind the reasons such prohibitions did not exist in Greece. And there are assumptions behind the reasons such prohibitions did exist in Israel. Assumptions that have to do with children, family, and parenting. We'll explore these assumptions in Chapter 4. The fact that transgenderism was virtually unheard of by most Americans in 1989 is only because the trajectory of Greek paganism, which began with the resurgence of naturalism in 1859 by Charles Darwin, that trajectory had not progressed to transgenderism by 1989. But who knows what we'll be dealing with in another 30 years as transspeciesism and transhumanism move us further along the trajectory of Greco-Roman paganism, exceeding where even the Ionians and the Athenians ever thought to go. Yet the basic ideas upon which our current and future isms feed and fuel themselves has remained unchanged for thousands of years. These isms may be new to us, but the devil's bag of tricks is not very deep. He knows what has worked in the past, and he's sticking to his ancient game plan. What's going on now in the United States is demonic, and I don't use the term metaphorically. The specific ideas we touch upon in Chapter 4, views of children, family, and parenting, are views upon which civilizations stand or fall. The clashing of views related to children, family, and parenting that existed between the ancient Greeks and Hebrews are significant, and the tensions we are experiencing in American culture today are but the outworking of a very ancient conflict. The story didn't end well for the ancient Athenians, and it won't end well for us unless we make a course correction soon. I'd like you to take a look at some interviews of students at the University of Washington done in 2016.
Are you aware of the debate happening in Washington State around the ability to access bathrooms, locker rooms, spas based on gender identity and gender expression?
I think people should be able to have access to the facility.
I think bathrooms could and potentially should be gender neutral because there doesn't need to be a classification for differences.
I think people definitely should have the ability to go into whichever locker room they want.
I feel like at least public universities should do their best to accommodate for those who do not have a specific gender identity.
You know, whether you identify as male or female and whether your sex at birth is matching to that, you should be able to utilize the resources.
So if I told you that I was a woman, what would your response be?
Good for you. Okay, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Romans chapter 1 speaks of people resisting the truth and becoming futile in their thoughts. Professing themselves to be wise, they become fools. That's where many seemingly intelligent people are in our culture today, like these university students. There are reasons our society is in this condition. It has to do with ancient assumptions about children, about family, and about parenting. Assumptions I'll share with you in chapter 4.